greatest pleasure to bring to you John Q. I came across John Q a couple of 2 weeks ago, and I reached out to him. I said, "Hey, I need to have you on our podcast because people need to hear from you." The numbers that he does at the moment for the financial year, he did about 4.5 million in revenue, and he's got a team that works with him. And he's one of the top 3 agents in the whole of Ray White Group. I thought it would be great to have somebody like John Q, who started from scratch some 10 years ago. John, I would love you to talk to this in a minute, but before I do that, I just want the reason of this podcast, real care, real advice, real difference. The reason we found this podcast was to expose people agents around New Zealand to people like John, who was started from scratch. Because people say, what does it take to become a top agent? People think that you need to have privileges, but the reality is some of the best agents that I've seen all across the world most of them are the ones that started from scratch. So John Q, you are an example, and I'm so excited to have a chat with you. Tell me a little bit more about how this whole real estate thing came about for
you. Well, I was a flight attendant with Emirates Airlines based in Dubai, and we've decided to, my wife and I, or my partner back then, which was Jenny, decided I think it was about time for us to either part ways in Abu Dhabi, and from there, the choice of heading to the States was one of my options. But before heading to the States, I wanted to actually visit New Zealand. So I didn't really have a clue where New Zealand was, where Auckland was. But I didn't really come from a wealthy background. So it's more of like a risk for me just heading to New Zealand, first of all. So that was probably 2009, resigned from the airline industry. And then moved to New Zealand back in, I think, late 2009. I was on a work permit then, but we had, and I guess like you guys would have either read it on the paper, like I've probably invested some money like over the last probably 5-6 years of flying.
Hey John, can I ask you to go back to originally from the Philippines, right?
Correct.
And from Philippines you went to I want to go back to where you started, because obviously in Philippines, how old were you when you left Philippines to go to Dubai?
I left when I was 20.
Right.
21.
Okay, so at 20 you
I
went
lost
to Dubai.
count. 21. Say 21.
Okay. So at 21, it's irrelevant. At 21, you went to Dubai. You're working in Etihad Emirates as a flight attendant.
So my first job when I left the Philippines was a front office clerk at Dubai International Airport. So I was working 6 days a week for 14-hour days. And I think the pay then was 800 dirhams a month, right, which was equivalent to probably 200-300 New Zealand dollars a month. Mm-hmm. So from there, I started just playing basketball randomly with the airline industry, and there was just a job opening, and that's how I ended up in the airline industry, just due to sports.
Amazing. And then let's fast forward back to you came to New Zealand, and then tell me, why did you choose real estate, and what was the reason getting into real estate? Because
I had no options. I had no options though, Nathan. So I've knocked on every single door. From like an example, I knocked on every single business in Remuera back then, from butchery stores, clothing stores. No one really wanted to hire me. I even knocked on the door at Ray White Remuera back in 2009 or 10. I think 2000, late 2009, close to 2010. And I remember one of the receptionists said there that they're not hiring and they won't be hiring any newbies.
Right.
So I ended up going back home, deflated, and just Googled top paying jobs in New Zealand. There were engineers, there were doctors, there were surgeons, there were architects. I said, I don't have really the brains for it.
Right.
So eventually, one of the topics there was really being an agent, which is uncapped commission or uncapped earnings. So dad sells residential properties in the Philippines, but he only does it. He's not a big performer, but he does it to survive.
Right.
So I called up Dad and he just told me, look, I don't know how New Zealand works from being an agent, but you just have to work, your butt off, work your ass off. So it's a risk that I took, and that's how I ended up, knocking on real estate doors. And the only door that literally my first job interview was at Papatoy. Um, it was done in Papatoy. Professionals was the company, and I remember that person that interviewed me for 2 hours. And one of the last questions that he asked me was, "Do you actually have your real estate license?" I said, "No, I don't." And he goes, "Well, unfortunately, I can't hire you." After a 2 hour conversation, he said, "Unfortunately, I can't hire you." Then I went back to the drawing board, spoken to other, companies, and the only company that really opened the doors was Ray White Ellerslie. It was Philip Hall and Glenn Young, back 2010, wherein I've asked them, I said, when can I start? They said you could start now. So I literally started. I didn't have my real estate license then, but I just told them what does it take for me to get my license, and they said you just have to study this course, and I literally probably finished it off within a week. So I got my license in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time. And I
Right.
started, selling from there.
No. That's a good story. Like any successful person has got so many obstacles in front of them, and then all of a sudden got this light, and like, just let me show you how good I am, right? Let me show you what I can do. Now, where did you go from there? So you got yourself a job in where was the first job? I'm curious.
Yeah, the first job was Ray White Ellerslie. That was
Okay,
my
okay.
first
So
job
you
in
got
New
yourself a
Zealand.
job. Got you. And then to now, which you've got 80% share in an area. Is that right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Now tell me. I just want to see how you worked your way up from somebody that John Q that nobody knew, who was never had real estate experience, to what you are today, like the name that has got 80% market share and successful and does amazing work. Talk me through that, if you will. How did that go?
There was it started from with zero guidance, and I guess when I first started, like no one was there. Um, like I always felt that I was an experiment from a day-to-day basis. Hey, why don't we try this? Hey, why don't we try this? So I move on from company to company. And it's always a trial and error. Um, so I really had to search hard on what really works. So I made so much mistakes. It took me a good 3 years just to crack everything. But I was really selling everywhere. Um, so so 2000, I think 2014 is when I moved to Ray White Stonefields, um, and that was a suburb itself. I think there was like probably 1,000 homes there. Um, but things happen in that office. Um, I was terminated by Ray White Stonefields, and I remembered the principal. God bless him. He might be at your area. I remembered him calling me up. Um, I couldn't access the systems of Ray White. I was
Close you
pulled
down.
out,
Eh?
closed me down. My bags were packed. All my stuff was packed outside the door. That was 2014 because I was just having a curious chat with Megan Jaffe back 2014. So,
Right.
so Megan really, you know, Megan really took me by default
Megan Jeffy's
because
the lady. She owns Rimura. I know her personally. She's a lovely lady. I know. She owns Rimura. Ray White, who's the number one Ray White in the whole of New Zealand, right?
great.
Okay, right.
So, so she really took me open arms by default. I didn't have any other options of going other elsewhere. So, and the first question that really Megan asked me on day one, I said, "What would you like to do?" Because I was so angry, I really had the goal of shutting down Ray White Stonefields. So shutting down Ray White Stonefields was really my aim from day one I started with Megan. So from there, my mentality was, look, I'm literally gonna kill it.
Right.
I'm just gonna do it. I got no options. I don't want to go plan B. That's my only option. That's my goal. But it was literally out of anger. Then that's when I started believing on farm areas. So the
Uh-huh.
farm area really started back in like 2015. I joined Meg in late 2014. So really officially 2015. So but coming into her office, what also made me hungrier were agents in the office saying, I don't, why are you here? I don't think
Uh,
you'll make it. I don't think you'll make it. I don't think you'll survive in the office. I don't think you'll make good of yourself. And I just literally just head down, bum up. So I told myself, give me a good year. Um, I'll be the number one office. I'll be the number one salesperson in the office.
and who's laughing now, John?
No one.
Yeah,
No,
sure.
but it drives me, and Megan knows. Megan knows that till this date. I still admire her as a leader. I still I'm still very grateful to have met her till to this date. But she knows if I want something, I'm gonna go get it. I've got big ambitions till to this date. I've got big ambitions. So if I want it, I'll do it. I've got no other options, and that's always been my mentality.
Amazing. They said adversity builds character. That's why they say when I tell my friends, I've got a lot of friends of mine who were born with privileges, and I say that, hey, it's cool that you guys have the privileges, right? It's fantastic, but hey, you get on a treadmill with me, you're not gonna win. It's either I'm gonna die just like Will Smith says, or you're getting off the treadmill. So it's kind of the same mentality that you have, John, which has got you where you are for sure. And that's an amazing story on its own. Now, building that 80% frame, you spoke about farm area. Speak to me about a little bit about farm area, because obviously that's what sets you up from 2015, only 5 years, and you do 4.5 million now.
Um, Farm areas is just mainly. This is just how I work. I'm not saying like everyone should be doing the same thing, but I think it's just how you service your clients and really get to know them. It's all about relationship. It's not about, most agents are really looking from like a transactional point of view, but I'm looking at it from a relationship point of view. I might not be able to get this listing now, but I'm 100% sure that I'll get the listing in 2, 3 years time if they decide to sell again the next property. But it's sort of building that sort of rapport. And I remember Dad telling me that my brand is my name. I've just got to look after my own name. Just have a clean name. Try to look after your name. Have integrity. And the main purpose is really trying to look after your clients. Clients comes first.
I love that.
Not really the agents. I know most agents would say, hey, I want my commission, but I mean, at the end of the day, I want to have a clean transaction, because one transaction could reflect you for quite a long time, and they would remember you for a long time. But I think holding market share, in my opinion, is just trying to get to know every single person in the street, to a point wherein they're going to go, hey, John, I'm looking at selling, out of your farm area. Would you be interested? And that's when I started getting listings outside my farm area.
Yeah.
Now to a point now of now building a lead agent or a team of powerhouse agents that we're hoping to actually conquer Central Auckland.
I love that. I love that. It's absolutely amazing. Hey, I've heard this from every top agent. Dominating an area is the name of the game, and then having that not a sprint mentality, but having that long-term marathon mentality. Like, yeah, you missed this listing today, but it's a long-term game. 3 years down a track, you come back to me because you would have heard me. I would have added value to your life, and you would hear my name because my name stands for somebody's going to take care of you. And that's exactly what you've done. What you've done with your name, for sure, for sure. So how did you work? I want to go back to 2016 or 2015, because from 2016, within about 12 months to 18 months, you were the number one agent in Rewa Remuera
Correct.
until you left.
Correct.
What did it take you from somebody who just turned up to Ray White, and what was the importance of having a leader like Jeff, Megan Jaffe? Yeah, Megan Jaffe, helping you or guiding you, if you will, because the reality is, like you said, most companies don't have no guidance. They just say, okay, good luck. Here's the phone, like they used to when I got into the business. Here's the phone. Here's the yellow pages. Make phone calls, and I'll see you at the top.
Megan's been a good mentor. I've always had an impression with Megan that you either follow her or you don't. And I've always had that sort of impression with Megan. So I'm pretty sure any other agent who's worked with Megan would have the same sort of impression. Like you follow a successful person like Jeffy, like Megan, you can't really go wrong. So having her as a mentor meant so much to me. So to a point that I've got the same ambitions as her. I know she's got bigger ambitions, but she's obviously led the pack in terms of my ambition to actually grow even further. So, but she didn't really stop me. She was very appreciative for the service that I've actually done with her over the last probably 6-7 years.
I love that. Tell me, where's the ambition come from? I love that. Obviously, you said the importance of having a right leader. I want to come back to the farm here in a minute, but I just want to say, where do you get the ambitions from? And is that just ingrained with you?
No, well, I don't want to get comfortable though, Nathan. I think for me, the moment I get comfortable, I tend to relax. There's no sense of urgency for me. So for me, I always want to have sort of impression of, or as having the ability to look at a bigger picture. So I want to have bigger goals. I want to have bigger goals for the family. My ambitions are really cars. Unfortunately, I'm not allowed anymore to buy any cars. So I'm looking at other things that would really drive me forward. So, but I've got other things in mind, but hopefully my wife approves it.
Hopefully she does. Tell me about. I'm assuming you seen money back home as well, back to Philippines, yeah?
No.
No, okay. So it's just you here, and you just buy new cars, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me, coming back to this mentorship. I see that you see that's important. The next step is, how did you build the brand to what it is today that you've got 80%? What was that? What was your thing that you used to do? Obviously, look after people for sure. What were deliveries, weekly, monthly, door knocking? How did you do it? What did you do?
Oh, it's the constant of doing everything really, from cold calling, from door knocking, from flyer drops, from it's more of like the discipline to do it daily. Um, and I remember Tom Panos saying, perfecting your basics on a day-to-day basis. So having the discipline to do it and the consistency to do it. So that's what I just did. I just get one snippets from, Tom, and I just try to implement it.
Okay.
It's more of the implementation, but how I really got into market share was you just have to stay hungry on a day-to-day basis. Um, you don't know when your next meal is. I actually like the industry because it actually keeps you up your toes. You snooze, you lose.
Uh-huh.
You do one bad job, they'll remember you for it. You now have to literally just try to get your name back, and that's one thing I love. There's challenges daily. Um, keeps me up every
Yeah,
day.
you talk about consistency and discipline, because the reality is, John, everybody knows, or most people know what to do, and if they don't know what to do, they can readily find it. They can jump on YouTube, listen to you, Tom Panos, listen to our podcast like this, go at Team Eric's. But the reality is, a lot of people lack the discipline to be able to do it consistently on for years, right? Until that brand is built. Now, so you did deliveries, you did door knocking, you added people into your database, and then at what stage it starts flicking the turn, the light flicked, like
In a
what
year's time. In a year's time.
in a year's time? Okay.
In a year's time. It takes a year or two to actually, get to know people. It's like courting. It's like I look at it as like marriage. You can't date someone and all of a sudden ask for her hand.
Jeez.
It takes a long time. It takes a while to massage that sort of relationship to actually build trust. I know some agents, they've got really strong networks because they've actually worked here in New Zealand. Well, myself, I didn't really know anyone. So in order for me, you know, to get to know people was either knocking on the door, introducing myself, not really selling anything, not even asking for the business, but I'd literally just drop in and just say, hi, hey, my name is John, and I work in the industry and such and such. Same with phone calls, but it's literally an introduction to a point that I would time it to a point that I could even ask for the business. But it takes me a while. Like it's when you time things, when's the right time to do it. But I've always got a long-term approach.
The beautiful thing about this is, though, John, back in the days when I got into the business, there was this thing that, hey, you got to be a harsh, you got to be a mean, you got to be a fast talking salesperson to become successful in real estate, right? But today, thankfully, it's like people like you who are hardworking, who are hungry but humble, but most like the nicest people on earth becoming number one. So that's what I love about having that people like you that becoming successful, because we are showing the industry that, hey, you don't have to be a mean cutthroat salesperson to do well in real estate or in business at all, right? So that's why it excites me about having people like you here. Now, at the moment, talk me through your team. So you built to 80% market share. It took you about a year and a half to get the ball rolling. So it's not a short-term approach. So it's a marathon. Every agent, when it comes to the business, they should look at it as a marathon, not a sprint. And obviously, it's important to have the right mentor as well, because you're telling me loud and clear that you went to two different other agencies, and until you found Megan Jaffe, you were kind of
I didn't
lost.
find her. I didn't find her that she worked. I was with her by default. So she did not employ me. She was not recruiting. I was literally just trying to find ways of, what else could I do?
Yeah.
But I think the mentorship was really a big thing. Someone that I could, you know, ring, call up daily, pick brains on. I think in the office, I was one of the agents who had super teams in Megan's office back then. So, and everyone's now trying to implement teams.
Hmm.
But without Megan, look, she's a great leader. I could say that.
Sure, sure. And obviously you're an amazing agent, of course, somebody who's open to, like a sponge. I'm sure wherever she told you, you did it right.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And now to what it is, what 10 years later, the John Q that dominates Parnell. Is that right?
No, so I'm now based at Ray White Parnell. So I still dominate the same marketplace, Stonefields, but obviously the ambition to actually dominate the entire Auckland is my ambition. But how do I do that? I'll take it step by step. Take a
Yeah,
long-term approach, recruiting the right people.
yeah, yeah. I think if you've got this goal that we're going to dominate Auckland, it won't be no surprise that you'll find a way to do it. And obviously you've got the psychology to do it. You've done it before in Stonefield. I'm sure you can teach that to a team at the moment. What is your team that you've got at the moment? What is that? How many agents you got working with you, and how many PAs, and what's the
So I've
structure?
got I've got I've got two marketing PAs. I've got a client care person who looks after the database. I've got another client care person that looks after the pipeline. Um, I've got virtual PAs who just tries to look after some of the marketing material. I've got my own IT person that looks after the websites now. I've got two of my main associates. I've got six lead agents who are listing agents themselves. Jasper Fu has got I've got another agent who pretty much writes at least 300-400 or at least 500 a year. So I've allocated another associate for Jasper.
Uh-huh.
But I've got in total, I've just hired four new lead agents in the team just recently. So in total, I've got probably 14.
Okay. Amazing. That's like an office within an office. It's probably bigger than most offices. Um, Tell me, if it was three things you're gonna give to a new agent that's gonna come and start working for you, what would it be?
Two things I always tell them: discipline and consistency.
Discipline,
Have the discipline to do it. Have the discipline to do it on a day-to-day basis and consistency to do it day to day.
and being
That's
consistent
it.
to do. Right, right.
Those are the two things that I always, and just try to embed in their head. Is those two words meant so much to me. And
Uh-huh.
obviously the mentorship. Pick up the phone if you're not unsure, if you think that you're doing something wrong, if you're unsure, don't pretend that you know it all. Pick up the phone, call up someone. Don't be afraid to, call up Nathan. If you need any advice, call you up, call the principal up, call a random agent up, but at least you're making an effort to actually improve yourself on a day-to-day basis. Don't be afraid, put your ego down. There's no point of, I was probably one of the agents that asked so many top performers back then, but no one really wanted to share. And that was
Yeah.
really my frustration. There was no social media back then. There was no other portals for us to actually share these sort of knowledge. I think the agents that's coming on board now, you've got social media, you've got real estate coaches. We never had that
Yeah.
when I started.
100%, John. That's what I'm excited about. Like, these podcasts like this. Unfortunately, it's a different we still have a lot of old habits here in New Zealand. Like I've got a lot of my friends that are in Australia, and they like more than happy to share whatever. And I'm sure you've reached out to a lot of those guys that to find out more. And what I found, the most successful people are the ones that are more than happy to share whatever they got to where they've got to, just like you, what you're doing, right?
Mm.
Hopefully that new generation of agents that we've got coming in New Zealand, like people like yourself and these I call them a new breed of agents, hopefully will change this industry, because the reality is I am sick of the culture that we have in these companies. They're toxic. It's about everybody for themselves. Like you said, they don't like sharing ideas. We want to have people like you sharing everything that got them to where they got to, because the reality is there was people that helped you to get to where you want to get to, right?
Great.
Mm, mm. Is
100%.
there anything else that you like to tell us, your plans moving forwards, perhaps? I know you got big ambitions. Do you want to share anything with us, or?
No, I'd keep that to myself. I keep that to myself.
Okay.
No, I don't really share plans to everyone. Don't they? No disrespect. That's literally my ambitions. Because the reason why I just don't share it, because people have got their own comments. But for me, it's just what drives me forward. What's my next move? What's my next purchase?
Yeah.
What's my next goal? But I could hand it on. So first of all, it's all about what my family approves. Without my wife's box ticked, I'm not
Mm.
moving.
I love that. I love
So
that.
um
Hey, you know what?
so
I want to go to your family life, because I think it's the most important thing. What's huge for me is, like, having a balanced life, like being successful in business and also having a successful family life. I want to go into your family life, because I know you see you got two beautiful kids. You got Jeannie as your wife, of course. Tell me, how does your time spent with the family? How do you balance work
well,
and
it like talking about family. I always recall whenever I recruit someone, I always ask them, like, do you have a wife? Do you have a partner? And if they say yes, I'm always going to say your wife is your backbone. If you're in the bad books every day, there's no way you'll have the right mindset coming to work on a day-to-day basis. So you have to get your partners or your wives
yeah,
involved, especially coming into the industry. And I'm quite lucky enough that Jenny, we didn't have anything. So Jenny was my wife now, or my wife then was Jenny back then. She was flying for Jet Connect, so we didn't have any option. But and she always says to me, like, you just have to literally work. So she was really supportive. So now over the last couple of years, what we just tend to do is we agree on our goals as a family. And it must be approved by the kids. It must be approved by the wife. If it's approved by the kids and the family, I'm all on board. I can't fail them. So, but right now, I'm blessed to write what I'm writing. But again, it's always now everything that I do is always approved by the family.
I
And
love
if I
that.
want to write 8 million or 6 million, what do I have to do? Again, I'm always going to run it past the family now.
You sound blessed, man. You are blessed. I know that. Tell me, you see it hiring somebody, making sure they got their family life right. Because what happens is, if they haven't got their family life right, man, the business ain't gonna work, right?
I don't think it would work. I don't want any divorcees in my team,
Yeah.
or someone who's planning a divorce because you can't see your kids or you can't see your wife. You've got to really balance it out. You've got
It's a
to
mental game,
spoil
this
you.
game, right?
Pardon?
This game of real estate is a mental game. If you
Oh,
haven't got your mind
100%.
right,
Oh, it's your health, it's your physical. You've got to get your mental health right. You're gonna get your health right. It's like what you said, like it's literally a marathon, but you've got to get everyone involved. If you're a young agent, I've just hired Filippo recently, and I just told the young fella, I think you've got to get your parents involved. You've got to get your mom and dad who could support you. If they agree, great. At least that's your backbone. If you've got a girlfriend, hey, your girlfriend has to be informed. I don't want any complaints saying, "Oh, John, like I can't go to work. I just had a massive argument with I don't want that.
Yeah, yeah,
I just want everyone on board. So at least your mindset is right. I always ask them, like, get an agreement in front of your partner. They've got to take it off. If
yeah.
they take it off, then great. If they don't take it off, guess what? Your life would be miserable.
It ain't gonna
You
work.
can't make it work. They're going to be calling you up at 6 o'clock while you're door knocking and go, hey, how come you're not at home? I want to see you. It's like, man, 6 o'clock is business hours for me.
That's right. That's right. It's interesting, huh? Because I think having goals, and when you got a partner, it's your goal for yourself, goal for your partner, goal for you together, goal for the kids as a family, right? So it's having all these different kind of goals would drive everybody, and you're gonna have everybody on board, right?
100%.
Tell me, what does your morning routine look like? I'm curious because I always ask people, like, what does it look like? Because obviously you said you talk about you're big in mental health, and I want to know your morning routine. What does it look like?
I wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. So prior to lockdown, during lockdown, I'll wake up at 5.
Okay.
So 4 o'clock, I'm just gonna get myself ready to hit the gym at 5, 4:45 really. So the gym is one way for me to get my mental state right. So I do F45. I'm pretty sure you guys have it there.
We do, yeah.
So I do F45. I can't really banter at work, but I'd banter at the gym with my gym buddies. They gave me a
Right.
lot of shit on a day to day. I love it. They challenge me on a day to day, and I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I push myself. I work out with a young crew that's got, from a health perspective, man, they're great to actually be around with. So just seeing them day to day actually pushes me to improve my health as well. So I just work out, at 5:10 with F45 in the morning, with 4 of the crew that I've got, and now we just have fun, uh, give each other a hard time for 45 minutes or an hour, and come back home with the kids. So 6:30s, I've got to be back home by 6 just to prepare my son at 6:30. Then really 6:30 is school. Drop him off 7:45, and my day starts at 8.
Okay. So 6:30, you get ready to come hang out with the kids.
I've got to be home by 6:30. Always got
Okay.
to be home by 6:30. So um, just to prepare my son, because Jackson goes to school. He's got to be at school by 7:45.
Daddy gets him ready.
Yes,
Right.
mom and dad, team effort, Nathan.
Got you. Sorry. Right. So then you have breakfast together, I'm assuming.
Yes, we do.
Right. And then you drop the kids off. And then what time are you in the office?
I could be at the office by 8.
Sure.
Man, these are really interesting questions, Nathan.
I want to know because what I look at, like I've looked at this all my life, right? I've done this all my life. I've seen what people who are successful are doing, and I just do what they do.
You can't do what they're doing because you don't have kids yet.
No, I understand. I understand, but I can implement what I can, though, right? And I'm just because some people would say,
Let's talk. Let's talk, Nathan. Once you've got kids,
right, John. When people say, well, I've got 2 kids. I can't do what John does. Now, well,
oh no,
right?
you've got to get a buy-in from your wife. You got to get a buy-in from your wife and your kids.
Sure.
That's the main thing. If your wife is in full support of you, an example is Ines Bashota, who's worked with me for a couple of months. First thing I asked him, like, is your wife on board? And she said yes. Had a chat with the wife. He had a chat with the wife, and the wife goes, look, I'm certainly on board with you. Never heard a complaint, a single complaint. He comes home at 8 o'clock. Never over the last 2 months I heard a complaint from him, complaining about I can't see the kids. But he has his own balance. But these are listing agents in the team. But
yeah, so I love it how you like so big in health. Like Shah, one of our girls here, like she does it 45, and she probably listening to this now, and she wants to do the 5 a.m. class just like you do for 45 minutes to get her head and her mind right before she comes to work, and she's at work 7:30 to 7 o'clock, right? So it's important to get yourself right. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time, John. It's been so good to talk to you.
thanks, Nathan.
And then just to wrap up, you see it, having the right mentor is one of the most important things. That will be a good start. For farming an area and having a long-term mentality, having consistency and discipline is the name of the game.
Correct.
But I appreciate your time, John. I wish you all the very best. I'll chat with you. We'll be cheering you on because dominating Auckland will be an amazing.
Cheers, Nathan.
I appreciate your time, man. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Get it.